That's not good. So you heard shiurim, you should have something from the shiur. So how come you don't have anything from the shiur? How come you don't have anything from that book? Because you have a problem which is called forgetting. And forgetting is part of the world. And Rav Ephraim says something genius, something purely genius, which is that the brain degenerates by force due to the aging of the material that the brain allows into his mind. Meaning that the person allows into his mind. So, even if a person has studied, has read a book, or 2, or 10, do not think for a moment that that information is permanently in your mind. In fact, the older that information, the more that information ages, the more difficult it'll become to remember it, unless you're constantly reusing that material, either by applying it to your life, or by developing it, or by protecting it. Now, reusing it obviously means you're applying this information in your life. Developing it means that you're continuing to learn. What does protecting it mean? Protecting it means that you're not allowing new information that is inferior to it, that is damaging to it, to enter your mind. Because that information that you allowed into your mind, as it ages, already by default, it is becoming more distant than it was when you first got it. But the times that it starts aging by literal force is you have to realize that that force is coming from you acquiring the news instead of more Torah, the poison instead of the nutrition. When you acquire news, when you acquire rap music, when you acquire filth, then guess what? That new bit of information doesn't just enter your mind, but it forces whatever good you have further deeper into your mind. Which is the reason why people that went to yeshiva, were religious for a big portion of their life, and then suddenly decided to leave, suddenly decided to stop learning, unfortunately many times eventually leave religiosity altogether, leave the Torah life altogether, and then you meet them when they decide one day, 10, 20 years later, or 5 years later, that they want to come back. Tell them, okay, so tell me something that you know. And they don't know more than a first grader, many times even less. But how is it possible? You went to yeshiva. And they even tell you, listen, I know what I'm talking about. I went to yeshiva. You know, my father is a rabbi. I know. And you ask them basic level questions, and they don't have an answer for it. Basic level understanding, they don't know. Now they know the things that even the goyim know, which is, there's kosher food, non-kosher food, you're not allowed to kill people. They know stuff like that. But if you start asking them things that perhaps require a little bit more thought, require a little bit more current knowledge, they don't know. Why? It's not that they never learned it. Many times they didn't, but many times it's not because they didn't learn it. It's because all of the filth that they have acquired from the filthy music and filthy sports and filthy promiscuity and filthy whatever else is out there, all of that forced the good so far back and so deep into their mind, it almost became like a repressed memory, like how a trauma is sometimes repressed, from its own victims, where a victim would literally go into a Shem Yachem. The trauma would be so severe that they would forget certain things, including the actual trauma itself. They wouldn't remember what happened, even though they were awake and everything was there. but it's so repressed, it's so deep. And sometimes the good that a person learned in their life becomes like that. And only toil and literally pulling it out of yourself will bring it back, but it requires effort. So the brain degenerates by force due to the aging of the material that a person allows into their mind. And this is supported, of course, by the Torah, as it says in Sefer Dvarim, the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 32, verse 18. Kadosh Baruch Hu says to Am Yisrael, and through Moshe, you forgot the rock who gave you birth. You forgot the rock who gave birth to you, and forgot God who brought you forth. So here we see that the whole matter of forgetfulness is a part of the world, and we're not just talking about forgetting that whether you bought milk in the store, you didn't, forgot if you paid or you didn't. That is, of course. We're talking about forgot something that you actually spent time and effort acquiring, learning, studying, and still end up living by, and still end up forgetting it. Okay, so this is something that happens. Hence